first, far off, barely visible behind the ridge of the hills. But by the time the wind changed, it was too late. In a single night, the village of Sarandale vanished beneath waves of heat and flame. Houses burned like dry paper. Fields of wheat curled into blackened stems. Trees that had stood for 100 years fell in showers of sparks, and the people fled, carrying only what they could hold in their hands. Among them was a woman named Elia. She had lived alone in a small cottage on the edge of the forest, where she kept bees and brewed wildflower honey. Her life was quiet, gentle, the kind that left soft footprints behind. She had no children, no husband, just her home, her garden, and the rhythm of the seasons. But the fire took all of it. When she returned 3 weeks later, after the final embers died and the smoke had drifted into the distance, she found a world made of charcoal and silence. Her cottage was nothing but a stone outline filled with ash. The trees were skeletal shadows, black limbs clawing at a gray sky. Even the soil felt scorched, stripped of memory. And the air, once filled with bee song and blooming herbs, now carried only a heavy hush. Elia stood in the ruins, her arms limp by her sides, eyes burning, not from smoke, but from something deeper. A hollow grief. Not loud or violent, just still. She walked the path where her garden once grew. There had been lavender there and rosemary, a row of sunflowers taller than she was. All gone now, crushed beneath soot. But just as she turned to leave, heart heavy, feet dragging, she saw it. A single flower, tiny, white, growing from a crack in the ash-covered earth. It was a primrose, not planted by her, not there before the fire, and yet somehow, impossibly, it had bloomed. Elia knelt beside it, tears rising not from despair, but awe, because something had survived, something had chosen to grow. The days that followed were hard. She had no roof, no bed, and little food, but she stayed. Each morning, she woke with the sunrise and cleared away debris. She dug through blackened soil with bare hands, unearthing melted glass, twisted metal, bits of pottery. She gathered stones from her collapsed chimney and stacked them again. One by one, slowly, patiently. People from nearby towns stopped by to bring her food, some tools, and ask why she hadn't left. "There's nothing here," they said. "Why stay?" Elia would only smile and say, "Something is still growing." They didn't understand, but that was okay. She didn't expect them to. By the third week, she had built a small shelter out of salvaged wood. It leaked when it rained and creaked when the wind blew, but it was hers, a space of her own. She cleared the land around the primrose, careful not to disturb it. And in its honor, she began to plant again. Not rows like before, just one seed at a time. A daisy, a sprig of thyme, a few scattered wildflower seeds. Each morning she watered them, even when clouds threatened, even when her arms ached. It was not just for the plants, but for herself. Every action was a thread, slowly weaving her spirit back together. And then one morning, it rained. The first real rain since the fire. She stood outside as it fell, letting it soak her clothes and hair. Around her, ash softened into dark earth. Drops struck the scorched bark of trees, rolling down like tears. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you." Over the months, green returned in fragile whispers. Ferns pushed up between cracks. Grass sprouted in soft patches. Her garden began to breathe again. Other villagers started returning too. Timid at first, unsure. They saw what Elia had done and were moved. One man brought wood and helped her build a new fence. A young couple brought bricks and started rebuilding their bakery nearby. Someone planted a tree, and slowly Sarandale lived again. Not as it was, but as it could be. Humbler, closer. Together, they made benches from fallen logs, turned burned stumps into tables, painted murals on ruined walls. Laughter returned, music echoed again. But in the center of it all, near Elia's rebuilt home, the primrose still stood, now surrounded by a thriving garden, a reminder of what had begun it all. Years passed. Sarandale became known not for its loss, but its rebirth. Travelers came to see the village of the flower. Children were told the story of how one woman returned alone and chose to plant hope instead of surrender. Elia grew older. Her hair turned silver, her hands more lined. But she still tended her garden every morning, still whispered thanks to the earth. One spring evening, as the village gathered to celebrate another year of growth, a young girl approached Elia with a shy smile. "Why did you come back when everything was gone?" she asked. Elia looked at the girl, then at the sky, pink with sunset, humming with birds. She pointed to the primrose. Because that wasn't gone, she said. And if something that small could survive fire and ash, maybe I could too. The girl nodded quietly, then leaned down and touched the flower. It swayed in the breeze, but did not break.